This is Renoir's La Parisienne, or more commonly known as the Blue Lady.
So the painting has been requested for loan by the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. They are putting on a special Impressionist exhibition which celebrates the 150th anniversary of the first Impressionist exhibition in Paris. So this painting was one of the paintings that was part of that first exhibition. Since it's in the studio, this is also a really good opportunity for us to look at the painting more closely. So this is our microscope, so we can see things and photograph and document this really high magnification, which is great for looking at painting technique and documenting certain aspects of condition as well. It hasn't been painted with many layers, but you can see in the skirts, for example, this kind of beautiful wet in wet modeling of the paint. So you can see the shape of his brush strokes, which I think looks really beautiful. And because of the blue, it kind of almost gives it this like watery quality I really like. And even though, you know, he hasn't got the depth through layering, it's kind of almost like he's creating this texture with his brush strokes instead, which gives it a really interesting textural surface. It's really nice to be able to see which paint strokes are going over which, the order in which he's painted certain things. We're also quite interested in this border between where the pigment has faded and where it's been protected by the frame rebate. So you can use a microscope to see, you know, is this a really hard line? Are we sure it's fading and it's not something that he's painted over, you know? So it kind of helps us answer those sort of questions. As well as looking at it under the microscope, we've also done an infrared reflectography photograph of it. So that photographs the painting in a different wavelength, and it tells you different things about the painting than what we can see with visible light and our naked eye. It shows you what's going on, or what was going on in the background before Renoir changed certain elements. So you can see on the IR much, much more clearly this either curtain or doorway or column that's on the left-hand side. You can see like a kind of skirting board, and then up in the top right, you can see the edge of probably a picture frame. So these are elements that have been painted out in order to change the background. So this has been really interesting to see that that is something that was changed in this painting. Being able to use this technology, we can get a deeper insight into the painting process and how Renoir conceived of it originally and then changed his mind possibly. So yeah, it's quite exciting to see these things come up in the course of being able to treat this painting. We can also do XRF, which is an elemental analysis technique. So we can actually see what elements are present in the paint, and we can use that to identify, for example, what kind of pigments were used and other information like that.
For example, we might use this to look at her blue dress. Obviously, that's a massively important feature of this painting, and the pigment that's been used for the blue, we can analyse with this bit of equipment without having to take any sample of the blue paint. It has to be really close to the paint surface, so you're aiming for sort of a millimetre or two. So once I'm happy I'm in roughly the right area, I'm going to go for this really intense patch of blue, which should give us a nice spectrum to see what this blue pigment is. So I'm just looking at the XRF results. It's really nice because it's been able to confirm what we thought, that the blue pigment Renoir's used to create this amazing blue dress is cobalt blue. One of the other aspects of this painting that we've been interested to look at is the strip of purple paint that we can see down the right-hand edge. We know from the XRF result that cobalt blue is present in this purple paint, so it looks like the purple is created with a mixture of cobalt blue and a red pigment. We do have a sample taken from that edge some time ago, and we can see that the paint is created with a mixture of this really beautiful red lake pigment mixed with some blue. So it looks as if the strip down the edge, which has retained the purple colour, is where that part of the painting has been more protected from light and less fading has taken place. However, we do have the added complexity that Renoir has changed this background. So it's not totally straightforward to imagine exactly what this background would have looked like and how purple some of the shadows on this edge might have been before he made those changes.
So before it goes, we have to make sure that it's all stable and fine and it's in good condition and it won't be adversely affected by the travel. I've been checking its condition. Unfortunately, this painting does have a history of very small bits of paint flaking off. So that's why it doesn't normally travel and why we're taking a lot of precautions with it now. So I've consolidated and filled and retouched these really tiny losses. I'm going to be traveling with the painting to Paris and, examining it when it's there to make sure that the condition hasn't changed. Especially with this painting, it's so beloved by people that it's nice to find a way in which we can bring people closer to it and kind of look at it in a way that you wouldn't normally be able to when it's on the wall. Because we're so privileged that we get to look at these paintings in the studio and to see them in different ways, like under magnification or with IR and X-ray and all those kind of things. And, it's nice to be able to share that with people so they can kind of, see what we do and also what we can learn about the paintings in our collections with the equipment and the expertise that we have here.